Morning, and we are talking about this third act and planning a third act and building a very cool third act. It's pretty cool. That's what we do. I'm going to see if folks are able to find me. Watch out, Tricks. Good morning. Good morning. So I'm Colleen. I'm 57. I am kind of in this phase of life. Well, I'm in a unique phase of life. Yeah, this is a big transition coming into our third act. For me, it's a little bit unique in that over the last 7 years, I've lost everybody and everything. So I'm starting over also. It started when I was laid off from a long time career, decades long. I was gotten caught in a mass layoff of like 10,000 people and decided to start my own online business. And then subsequent events happened in my life that kind of just pulled the entire rug out from underneath me. And yeah, so I lost my husband. So basically in the last 7 years, I have become widowed. I have become family-less. I'm starting over financially. I'm in a new town, on and on. So I feel like my perspective coming into this third act, I feel like an infant just starting out in the world, but I'm 57. And I feel like I've learned some lessons along the way. And I like talking about those. So anyhow, let me see if I can figure out how to copy the link. All right, how do I? Good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning. Who is joining me? I am. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Didn't mean to green screen it. Good morning. I'm sorry. I'm new to YouTube Live and I'm just learning all the magical buttons now. Who's joining me? I see somebody's joined me here. We're here talking about our third act. Let's see here. I got a message. Oh, reconnecting. There we go. Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I have a way to like quick share. How do I share this link? Hang on. Hang on. Good morning. Yeah. Hey, it's Sherry. Hi. You found me. Yay. I know you were over on the TikTok live and the bots just stream in. They seem to have slowed down like on my follower count, but the live thing, so maybe I just can't go live ever again, which kind of, I don't know, defeats my TikTok purpose. But anyhow, does this look normal? Like I'm on my phone, vertical here. So it's a little. Hi, Lily. Good morning. We were talking about our third act here. Actually, I'm talking about YouTube Live. I'm new to it. So we're figuring it out. All the buttons. I'm on my phone. And I'm on my front-facing camera, like my normal camera, instead of my back-facing camera. It's a little dark, isn't it? It feels a little dark. Let me turn my overhead light on. Maybe it's just different for YouTube. Hang on. Let's see. Normally on the talk, I turn my overhead light off because it's so bright. Maybe that's a little better. Little better, isn't it? It's not as great. Not as great. Although you can see my gray hair here, so a little better light. I'm Colleen, Lily. I'm Colleen. I'm 57. I'm always on here. Well, I shouldn't say I'm always on here. I'm new to YouTube. I have been live every morning talking about coming into our third act. I'm 57 and how I have the last 7 years been starting completely over. I was saying a little bit earlier that I feel like a newborn child starting the world completely over, except I'm 57 and I have a few lessons under my belt. I'm 57. Mavian, good morning. Oi. I'm new to YouTube, so I'm not real familiar with how these chats work, but I see y'all coming in. I appreciate it. But I'm always in here talking about, I was laid off. I became a widow, became familyless, starting over financially, and just figuring out this next phase. I'm 57. I probably have another I don't know, 30, 40 years. So trying to build something interesting, but it's a lot. It's a lot for sure. Sherry, I loved your video on TikTok about your timing and all of that. Because COVID, man, COVID messed with so many people's lives. I mean, health, obviously, but so many people. I didn't say skirted through COVID, but I was, self-employed. I had my online business at the time and worked from home. So I really didn't even have to deal with masking and all that kind of stuff. And I live, I live alone. And at the time I was living in Florida, where, as you know, we don't need no stinking masks in Florida. So, yeah, it was a great video. I think I commented, you're a great storyteller. We want more stories. We want more stories. So, Mavian, tutto bem. That Italian? I don't speak Italian. Mais je parle français. Je parle français. We could do that in French. I don't know. So this YouTube one is a little different. Actually, this YouTube live is interesting because TikTok live is very busy on the screen. It's like a game show. Here, it's just like a clean screen. So I'm kind of digging it. That's what you enjoy. Well, maybe you should be like the storytelling chef. That would be fun. Lily, I'm still 57. I'm still 57. 5'7". Just a few minutes older than the last time you asked. Oh, God. Okay. Let's see. Oh, wait. No, I didn't want to do that. Oh, hang on. Okay. I think I'm supposed to hide people from the channel instead of deleting them. So I'm learning. We're going to hide that user. Okay. Lily, you're 17. You're probably too young to be here. This is old lady talk. You got your whole life ahead of you. But Lily, start your third act now. So let's talk about it. You're 17. So you are typically in what we call Act 1. Act 1 is youth. Act 2 is adulting, when you spend 30-ish years working, family, 2.5 children, picket fence. No, you don't need to leave me. But let me give you a little piece of advice that you haven't asked for. You haven't asked for it. But as somebody who's 17, you have an opportunity now to jump straight from Act 1 to Act 3. So I'm in my third act, but Act 1 is youth. Act 2 is adulting, where you do all the things you're supposed to do, all the things that society tells you to do. You're a responsible adult. You're doing all the things, right? And then one day you wake up and you're in your 50s and you realize you've been living basically for what society has told you to do and not necessarily for you want to do. So your third act starts when you wake up one day and you're like, well, how do I want to live? And what do I want to do? So just jump to that. Just jump to that phase. Yeah, we have to play by societal rules, of course. We have to be good citizens, those things. But we don't have to just live by what we're supposed to do. So jump straight to your third act. That's my piece of advice for you. That's my piece of advice. Easier said than done. Easier said than done. So that's what our third act is. But I think it's interesting. Well, you already have a job. Well, see, you're already jumping in. A job is good. Working is good. There's nothing wrong with working and supporting yourself. That's wonderful. Just try to always be doing more of the things that you want to do versus that you have to do. And or make sure that it's work that you enjoy doing, because we spend a lot of our life at work. A lot of our life at work. So I'm self-employed now, but I was an employee for 30 years or more, because I started working when I was 16 as well. Anyhow, so this third act, yeah, I love here on YouTube, there are a lot of older creators, which is wonderful. I have been doing some research on here and finding older creators talking about this whole idea of solo aging, figuring out this third act, living arrangements, income generating projects, staying healthier, navigating this world where we're supposed to just be quiet at this age and we're supposed to wind down according to society, but we're not because we're living so darn long. So it's really wonderful to see all of the older creators on YouTube. But I am newer to YouTube. So it is 8:01 in the morning. I'm in the central United States. I'm in the central United States. But YouTube is such a different platform than obviously TikTok. So I think I need to get more structured with these morning lives. Normally on TikTok, I would just come on and start talking. But I think I need to get more structured with these so that when I save them, they can be categorized and I can use keywords and all of those things. All of those things. I did have a really interesting conversation yesterday with a colleague about Substack. So I have a Substack also, and it connects to YouTube. So she was incredibly helpful, kind of walking me through that strategy. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to use that. So I'm working on that today, getting my email list into my Substack. And my Substack, I'm calling Third Act Field Notes, because I'm going to tell you this third act is just one big experiment. One big experiment. But Sherry, I love how you were talking about on TikTok all the, kind of various income generating streams you've had. I always hate, I don't know if you use the term side hustle or not. I hate that term because I feel like it really diminishes the effort. All right, Lily, thank you for joining. I feel like it really diminishes the effort that really is required for quote side hustles. But I do think I saw an interesting TikTok this morning at 4 a.m. when I was doom scrolling at 4 a.m. about interesting side hustles. Like there was one, a lady talked about, she was a medical courier, made very good money. Now, the challenge with that one is it's very time consuming, but she said she would do like medical delivery, like up to like 100 miles away. But she talked about making, I think she said like her best week or something, she had made like $2,000. I don't know. So it was very interesting, but that's time consuming. Obviously, when you're driving, you're not really able to do other things. So I thought that was an interesting one. There were some interesting ones like field inspectors, notaries, things like that. So I think there's actually a lot of opportunity for us, quote, older people that aren't necessarily Uber or DoorDash or some of those like gig economy type programs. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. I'm going to see if I can share this. Let me see. I don't know how to really share this link. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not sure if that's obvious to y'all, but good morning, whoever's joining me. Are you still here, Sherry? I see more people have joined. So I was talking about this third act, being able to continue generating income. Of course, I always recommend people create a digital product of some kind or start a digital business. But what I've been learning is there's all sorts of different types of, income generating gigs. I thought this, good morning, Philip. I thought this, the woman on TikTok that I saw that was a medical courier. I'm like, that's actually really interesting because most people my age, have a car. They did talk about like a reliable car with good gas consumption, but she would deliver, I guess, medical supplies up to like 100 miles away. And she was making very good classes. I taught tips classes, alcohol consumption at rest. I don't know what that means. Serve safe is another teaching gig. What does that mean? What does that mean? So she was talking about, so like medical courier is an interesting one. Another gal was talking about field inspection. I guess where banks and mortgage companies have you go out and photograph properties for their loans or whatever. She talked about that. Like that's kind of an interesting one. Get you out and about. I think it's fascinating how, industrious and resourceful people can get, and like have been on these apps and learning about all these different ways. I say all the time, at this in this day and age, everybody should know how to generate income online. But I also understand not everybody wants to be, full time on social media and marketing and all of those things. So, but I was saying also, I love on YouTube, what I'm finding is a lot of older creators, which is fabulous. One thing I don't, what a trend I have noticed on YouTube is, so say some of the older creators that I have found that I've been following for a while, they start out talking about, lifestyle things, that kind of thing. And then eventually when their account grows, they start shifting to how to start a YouTube channel, how to make money on YouTube. And I I don't know if that, I mean, obviously follow the money, of course, but I'm wondering, I don't know. It's made me think. Let's see. Uh, Tips is teaching restaurant workers how to handle people so they don't drink too much. Oh, interesting. Interesting. So I have a tip. I have a tip. This is from a very dear friend who shall remain nameless. She was one of my dearest friends. And she and her husband did very, very well, built a massive company, did very well. And so they lived a very luxurious lifestyle, very luxurious staff, all of that. And she loved her martinis a lot, a lot. So when you'd go to their home, because it became, she loved them a lot. When you'd go to their home, her staff would take these beautiful martini glasses. And maybe this is like a known thing. I just thought it was so clever. And they would freeze the glasses with water in the bottom, like an inch or so. So then her martini was very short. And of course, it was under the guise that, oh, this is how we do it to keep the martini ice cold. But in fact, I know, having talked to them, it was actually to give her half as much martini. But I thought it was very clever. And so now when I get a martini, I want like the ice in the bottom because it is actually a really great way to keep the martini really cold. But it obviously then starts to melt and kind of waters it down. So the martini never really goes down in the glass. And after you've had a sip or two, right, and kind of goes to your head and like, oh, you don't notice it that it's a watered down cocktail. Just a little tip. Yes, her staff were so great. Her staff were very great. Thank you, Philip, for my glasses. Thank you. Yeah, I thought that was very clever. Very clever. And the staff was very clever that way because I know from hanging around with them and, staff and all, you can't say no, but you can, get clever. You can get clever. But I thought that was actually really clever. Or I know I would think the trend now with the massive like ice cubes, like the big square ones, which I have a friend gave me some of those, like with my little initials in them, which you can't really see, but it's a fun gift and takes up all the space in the glass, and it looks very like foo-foo shishi. Although I do find those big square glasses, you have to be careful because they knock your teeth. Anyhow, maybe I know too much about alcohol and the fancy stuff to do. But the martini glass with the water in the bottom frozen, and then it looked very fancy, of course, also. Yes, that's an example of great staff and okay staff working within your power. Yes, yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's such an interesting, seeing that lifestyle was such an interesting perspective from somebody. We knew them. We knew this couple back when they were just like, normal people. And there was like this group of us. And then when they did very well with their business and everything grew, it was interesting to watch them progress in that. Like when they were building their big big house that was going to require staff. They hired a manager to basically teach them. Well, he managed the house, but they hired a manager to basically teach them how they're supposed to be rich, like this lifestyle, because it was new to them. I do have to say, not that I'm that wealthy or ever, I don't know that I would ever want staff living in my house. It's a very strange thing. And we would go stay with them, and you wake up, you're never alone. There's always somebody there. Anyhow, it was interesting. First world problems, obviously. It's a whole thing. Yeah, they had a manager that basically taught them and put, SOPs in place and all the things. The interesting thing about it, becoming this uber wealthy, is your wealth becomes your business. They were running payroll, and like it's a whole, your life becomes a business. The house I work in, they are not living. Yeah, they had apartments over part of their home, and on property. But in the beginning, they kind of backed off a lot of staff. They had a house manager, they had a driver, they had a gardener, they had their I was going to say chief stew, that was on their boat, their chief stewardess. But in the house, she was also their chef. I don't know, it was strange, but they kind of backed off some of that. I think in the beginning, it was like shiny new stuff. But anyhow, it was interesting. It was an interesting watching them kind of progress into that lifestyle. And the really interesting thing is they were, where I live in the Midwest, it's a very old money town, and they were not old money, and they were not welcome in the uppity ups, which I thought, gosh, even when you have a bunch of money, it's still like the 7th grade lunchroom in cliques. It's like so stupid. Good morning, whoever's joining. We're here just having conversations. This is Coffee with Colleen and Trixie. Trixie is right here by my side, holding the sofa down. Yes. Yeah, my jacket. Yeah. Yes. I call that the Lucky Sperm Bank because the boat's named after all the grandkids. It's an interesting phenomenon. I think what's interesting to me, that uber wealth, is how much of it there is in the world. Good morning, who's joining us? Yeah, it really is about doing things the right way. Yeah. 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 Anyhow, it's interesting whenever we would travel with them, because at the time we were not living in the same town as them. So we would fly in, depends. Sometimes they would pick us up on the way at the FBO, the local FBO. But a lot of times we would fly into their town, and then we would go, travel with them wherever. And then we'd come back. And then, of course, we would have to get back on Southwest Airlines and fly home. I'm like, this is our re-entry program into reality. Yeah, when you drive through parts of Connecticut, it's hard to fathom. Yeah. Yeah, the uber wealth is it's unusual. It's unusual. I think we're going to see some unraveling of that here politically. I don't know. Listening to all the economists about this late stage capitalism, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's sustainable to collect so much wealth in one area. So anyhow, it's fascinating. It was wonderful to see and experience, of course. But it's also a little, money does not buy happiness. That is for sure. That is for sure. But anyhow, that is what we're here to talk about, is our third act. And I was saying, I have found so many older creators on YouTube, which is a lot of fun since I've been doing more research and hanging out here. So I think this is going to be a good app for us. I think it's going to be a good app for us when I can kind of get more comfortable with going live on this app. I'm guessing because I'm literally sitting in the same place, same phone, same everything. And this is a little bit darker. It's just, I guess it's how YouTube does their video. I don't know, versus TikTok. I don't know. But today I'm working on the Substack and getting email list into that. And then we'll start using that also for YouTube. So I think Substack is a really fun place. I wonder if that's a place for you to consider, Sherry, is Substack. I think what's interesting about Substack is it originally started for writers, bloggers, but it has very much expanded because these apps now want to keep people inside. Like YouTube is getting ready to add a community feature, like a social media community feature. But Substack has expanded to, writing, podcasting, video. There is a separate thing in there called Notes, which my girlfriend Brenda was telling me about yesterday. She was so lovely. She like gave me an hour of her time, and she's like this, big expert about Substack and how to use, like, there's the writing, like you create a post or you do a video, and there's a separate notes section, which is basically like your internal social media thread platform. And she was talking about how it should just be short snippets and things like that. What I really liked, what she was talking about, is Substack. She said people who come on Substack and treat it like social media or like a hard sell, they're not doing well, because it really started as writers, expressing blah, blah, blah. So she said the people who do best on Substack are those that really do just come on, tell stories, talk about things, and then let people naturally find your product. So she said people who are just like hard selling on Substack aren't doing well. So I'm like, I like that, because I don't like the rock'em sock'em. Hey, click my link, click my link, click my link. I don't love that. And I don't think my audience does either. But I could totally see, you doing short video clips. There's the podcast, there's the video. I don't know. It's interesting. It is not an easy platform. It is, we talked about that. She's like, the owners of it really have to get their shiz together in terms of user interface, because it's not, it's a lot. So yeah. Oh, you took a class on writing specifically around food. Loved it. I mean, I could totally see you there. Yeah. And all your story, like your stories yesterday, talking about corporate jetting, working on a boat. And I think it would just be very interesting. And I'm not familiar with all of it, but there's a lot of internal referencing, which is really nice, so people can really grow. So my strategy on Substack, after talking to my friend, is I'm going to bring my current newsletter list in of like 500 people. And then, of course, anybody in the Third Act Collective that wants to join, come on over. I'd love to have you. And those will be free subscriptions. And then going forward, to make it a paid, you can still have free, but make it paid going forward. That seems to be the strategy. Hey, good morning, whoever's joining us. That seems to be the strategy, is to get a little traction with free subscriptions and then move it forward. So that's what we're working on. We're going to work on that this morning. And I need to fully move my email list from Beehive to Substack by the end of March, because I'm not going to renew my Beehive subscription, because it's like $400 for the year. So I don't need to pay that. Substack is free, which is nice. They do, I think, up to 2,000 subscribers, and then there's a fee. Like it's per subscription. So it's not necessarily money out of pocket, which I think that's a good feature of it as well. So there's that. So I'm working on that. And after chatting with my friend, what I'm going to do is more of a lifestyle Substack. That's why I'm calling it Third Act Field Notes, where I can talk about making money online, but also all of this lifestyle stuff, the mindset, the productivity, the figuring out living arrangements, the downside, all the things that we talk about. We can talk about that there as well. So I'm hoping to get a really nice community going over there. It'll be fun. And I think what's interesting to me after my problem on the Talkity Tick with the bot slamming, I have a little PTSD from that. It's like a secure place. People have to subscribe. So it's a much more secure environment. Obviously, you're not getting pushed out with all the stuff, but I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, the image with the binoculars, that is, of course, it's AI. I made that in Mid-Journey with varying results. Like it, I think AI has a lot to, a lot to work on in terms of images. That's the one I was laughing about. I kept saying make an Indiana Jones, but a female, and so it would be a female with long hair and facial hair. I'm like, this is not, bearded man at the circus. Anyhow, it's kind of fun. But I love the idea of being able to talk about more things. Yeah. 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 It's really hit or miss with the images. It really is. I'm sure they're improving it. I'm sure they're improving it. But yeah. And I'm a little like, I love some of the AI images are so fun to see. But when it's all there is, I don't know. I think people still want just kind of real people. That was another thing my friend Brenda was talking about with notes, like the notes part of Substack, is how it's people are very much looking for, real and authentic. Like show us your dog, show us the sunrise, show us. I think people are really starting to crave that kind of connection, authenticity in this world that seems to be, a big dumpster fire. And AI, I think when you're showing like snippets of real life, it's people know that that's a real connection. It's not AI. So anyhow, we're going to be working on that today. All right. So who else is in here? I see 3 people in here. Where is everybody joining from? Do. And Sherry, did you find me easily this morning on YouTube? This live? I think probably what I need to do is schedule them and obviously start like marketing them more. Then I'm going live every morning since it's different take than other social media apps. But I have found a lot of interesting accounts on YouTube. This whole third act, I have found an account that's like strictly around solo aging, which I think is interesting. I found an account, a lot of people who are, reinventing. I'm kind of having an interesting thought around that word reinventing, because I guess it is in a sense reinventing. I feel like more it's just a constant evolution. I don't know. Maybe I'm splitting hairs. I did wait a little to see if they would alert me, but they didn't. Yeah, I need to go in and look at settings for that. And if I schedule it, excuse me, if I schedule it as like here, I hadn't scheduled it. I just came live. But they're always like when I go back tomorrow, there'll be something that says I scheduled this. So I don't know. I'm sure it's operator error. 100%. We're going to figure it out. But lots of interesting accounts on here. And I think the interesting thing about YouTube, of course, is it's very, intentional search, much more so than like TikTok where they're just putting stuff out there. So we'll see. But there's a lot of fun. What I love about YouTube is you can literally type in any topic in the search bar and something will come up. So I was wondering about the other day about Substack and Pinterest, because I don't know anything about Pinterest really. I've had a Pinterest account. I was looking at it. I think I have my last post was 2018. So there's that. And so I just typed in Substack and Pinterest and there it is. Bunch of stuff comes up. So I think it's fascinating. Anyhow, it's fascinating. But I think the idea of being able to come on here and do more of a variety and also online business, to me, is very interesting. To me, it's interesting because it brings interest into my own life that I have, more topics to talk about. I found Madonna's comments at the award show interesting about her journey and reinventing herself. Oh, I didn't see that. I mean, she's always been an interesting character. I think she was way ahead of her time in the 80s. Um, I remember how like provocative she was portrayed. And she was a provocative character. She is a provocative character. But what did she say about her reinvention? I think she's very much like a Lady Gaga type, who I also very much admire. Albeit she's a little out there. People like that come out. I don't think those are like performances. I think that's real authentic, just out of the box personality, and they let it come through. And of course, it becomes very decisive. People love them or not. I think that's interesting. Interesting. One thing about Madonna I think is sad is all the work she's had done. She doesn't seem recognizable, which I even hate to talk about appearance because, we shouldn't. But I think it's sad that society still does that to women. I saw a thing the other day that the average age of when people start Botox has dropped into the mid 20s. I'm like, are you kidding me? Mid 20s? Oh my God. Like, no. I did see an interesting thing the other day because I keep dabbling with, do I just let my hair go gray? Do I not let it go gray? And this woman was talking about, she had a comment. This was over on the Talkity Tick, that somebody said, you go gray, it ages you. And she's like, well, yes. And I am aging. I think she was like 60 or something. She's like, I want to embrace that. I need to stop trying to be, in my 40s. I'm not anymore. But I think it's interesting that the perception immediately is gray hair ages you, as if that is a bad thing. Like, we are not allowed to age. Women are not allowed to age. It completely devalues us, supposedly, which I think is interesting. So I think this gray, this move to gray is interesting. My girlfriend was talking about a friend of ours that went gray. She's like, oh, she's doing that whole trend of going gray. I'm like, I don't think the trend is going gray. That's the natural. I think the trend is continuing to dye our hair. So I don't know. I'm working with a hairdresser that works your color around the gray. I think that's probably the way to go. So it's not as shocking with the grow out. Like I have my gray here, but this is just like, I'm still maybe 3 weeks out from color and cut. But I think the growing out phase would be the challenge. Oh, you can really see it there. But my hairdresser says I'm not fully gray. So it'd be interesting to see what I am. I don't know. I think it's more the shock of seeing yourself in the mirror after so long. My biggest fear, honestly, would be looking like my mother, and not because of her looks, but because it's my mother. That would be hard to see every morning, but I could get over it. So I'm like, how much money do you save as well when you don't dye your hair? And how much time saved in that seat with the heat thing on your head, letting the color set? I don't know. It's interesting, but I think, women are not allowed to age. It's interesting to see celebrities on TV. Like, obviously, if you're a celebrity, you're going to be picked apart. But people are like, oh my God, she's aged so much. It's like, yeah, that's what happens to human beings. We age. So I feel like being a celebrity is not easy. Like poor, what's her name? Kurt Russell's wife, Kate Hudson's mom. What is her name? I don't see her name. Anyhow, she's had too much work done and she's not recognizable anymore. And she was so cute. What's her name? I'm so bad with names. Goldie Hawn. And she's so fun. I've always loved her as a celebrity, but there's just so much work. She's not recognizable. I haven't seen Terry Hart. Yeah. Now, I will say Jane Fonda has had good work done. I don't know who she's going to for work, but she looks I think Jane Fonda looks amazing because she looks her age. Terry Garr, yes. Jane Fonda looks her age, but she looks really good also. Yeah, she looks amazing, doesn't she? And she talks about how much work she's had done, but she doesn't look like she's had a lot of work done. I don't know what it is. She's just had really good work done. She looks amazing, but she also looks her age. Like, I loved her latest, I don't know, was it the People's Choice Award or something? Her big curly hairdo was gray, and she just looked fabulous. And she's obviously always been very fit. I know she had a problem. Yeah, Helen Mirren also. Yeah, yeah. So I think just embracing it is the way to go. But it is interesting, society's perception. Oh, that ages you. Like, yeah, yeah, Bob, I'm 57. Like, it's just such an interesting perception. Like that, it's supposed to be an insult as opposed to, yeah. Like I always say, getting old is the flex. Everybody gets youth. Getting old is the flex, but we're not supposed to look old is the problem. So it's all interesting stuff. And it's obviously all very exaggerated or illuminated with social media because we have instant access. Yeah, I have to hop off too. I'm just looking at 8:30. You have a great day, Sherry. Thank you for joining. I see more people joining here too. It's about 8:30. I do have to pop off here in a second. Have to pop off here in a second. So who's joining me? Good morning. This is Coffee with Colleen and Trixie. Trixie is right here, holding down the sofa. Holding down the sofa. We're new to YouTube Live, so we're just figuring this out as we go. We're figuring it out. I see somebody has joined. All right. Let me know where you're joining from. I'm always on here talking about third act. I'm 57 and just kind of starting to plan for my next phase of life and what it's going to be, what it's going to look like, what we're going to do, and how to do it. Because there really is not a script. There really isn't a script, so we get to write it, which is interesting and very daunting as well. Very daunting. I think what I didn't anticipate in this age is the amount of deep fear that you experience, at least that I experience, about this next phase, the unknown, the what are we going to do? How are we going to spend our time? How are we going to keep making money? How are we going to support ourselves? How are we going to stay functionally healthy? How are we going to have an interesting life? It's a lot of unknowns because there really is not any models. There aren't really models that have gone before. So I think it's a fascinating place that our generation in time, this group of like, quote, older people is writing the rules. I definitely want to do it in a way that younger people are like, oh, I can't wait to be older. Like that looks good. That doesn't look scary. That looks good. I want to do that. And I also have noticed one of my goals is to, be very experimental in this third act and get practical about it because there's so much information out there about all of the statistical issues. We're living a long time. We're healthier than ever. There's a housing shortage. There's not enough money. There's like all of these like issues, and they're all presented in these like statistical. But it's like, what do we do? Like, what are the real world solutions? What do we do? And that's what I really want to focus on. What I'm trying, what I'm sharing, see what other people my age are doing. I think I love seeing older users on social media using it as a creative outlet. I love the fact that we can get on here and have these conversations and talk about it and put it together for kind of use the hive mind to figure it out. But that's one of my goals, is to just get really practical about it and experimental about it, because there just isn't a script for this next act, this next chapter, whatever you want to call it. We are literally making it up as we go. So I want to be, practical around how do you deal with relationships? How do you deal with downsizing and purging when in fact you have a whole next life to live? How do you deal with making money? How do you deal with, you know, the physical changes we experience? How do we deal with the mindset? Because it is definitely, there are shifts like in any season of life. There are big shifts in our mindset and our beliefs and in our know-how and all the things. How do we manage that? And that's what I want to talk about on this chapter, on this. That's why I call it third act field notes, because we're just figuring it out, figuring out this next chapter one day at a time and writing the script one day at a time. So with that, I do have to run. I appreciate everybody who joined me, but I have a call here in a little bit I need to run off to. And I'm here every morning, so I will see you, and I appreciate you joining. All right, cheers. Thank you.